What's wrong, man?
I had my baby and I'm trying to get to Idabel Hospital where she's not breathing.
October 9th, 2020, 9:36 a.m. Highway 82 near DeKalb, Texas. A Texas state trooper pulls over a speeding SUV. Inside the vehicle is 27-year-old Taylor Parker. She's covered in dried blood. She claims she just gave birth on the side of the road.
But here's the thing. Taylor Parker had not given birth in over 5 years because in 2015, she underwent a complete hysterectomy. She was physically incapable of carrying a child.
So whose baby was she holding? And where did that baby actually come from? This is the story of Taylor Rene Parker, a woman who lied about everything. A woman who killed for a $37 million inheritance that never existed. A woman who cut a baby out of another woman's body and then tried to pass it off as her own. This is the most disturbing case I've ever covered. And it starts with a fake pregnancy.
So you was on your way to Idabel to have the baby?
Yeah.
To understand the horror of this case, you first need to know the victim. Reagan Michelle Simmons-Hancock was 21 years old. She was 35 weeks pregnant with her second child, a baby girl she and her husband Homer had already named Braxlyn Sage. Reagan was a devoted mother to her 3-year-old daughter Kinley. She was kind, trusting, and excited to welcome her new baby into the world. And she had no idea that someone was watching her. Someone who had already been planning to steal her baby. Taylor Parker and Reagan knew each other. In fact, just a year earlier, in 2019, Reagan had hired Taylor to take her engagement and wedding photographs. Taylor was a photographer, or at least she claimed to be. She seemed friendly, professional, and trustworthy. Reagan had no reason to be suspicious, but what Reagan didn't know was that Taylor had been hiding a dark secret for years, a secret that would eventually cost Reagan her life and the life of her unborn daughter.
To understand why Taylor Parker committed this unthinkable crime, we have to go back to the beginning.
October 2019, 1 year before the murder, Taylor Parker was 27 years old, desperate for love and determined to build a life that looked perfect, even if it was all a lie. And then she met Wade Griffin, a local welder and hog trapper from Texas. He was handsome, hardworking, and exactly the kind of man Taylor wanted to spend her life with. But there was a problem. Taylor had nothing to offer him. No wealth, no status, no real future. But she wanted him, desperately, and she would do anything to make him stay. So Taylor did what she always did. She lied. She told Wade she was the sole heiress to the Blackburn syrup fortune, a wealthy family from the South. She bragged about millions of dollars in inheritance. And then, to prove her love, she made an even bigger promise. She told Wade she would buy him a $4.7 million luxury estate. She even tried to purchase a property under the name Taylor Parker Griffin. None of this was real. She didn't have the money. She didn't have the inheritance. But Wade believed her. He trusted her. And for a while, the lie worked. But the problem with a lie is this: it always needs more lies to survive. No inheritance appeared, and Taylor's excuses started to unravel. She told Wade there was a court case, a bitter legal battle between her mother and herself, claiming it was the only thing delaying the inheritance. It was a lie. None of it was true. But Wade, trusting, patient, and deeply in love, he swallowed every word. As the months bled into one another, Wade's patience began to fray. He had invested years into this woman. He had believed every single promise. And now he was starting to ask questions. Taylor knew she had to do something drastic. Something to keep Wade from leaving. Something to make him stay forever. And that's when she came up with a plan that would set everything in motion.
I have some really big news. We are going to have a baby.
Wait, are you serious? Oh my God, that is amazing.
Here is the problem. Taylor Parker had undergone a total hysterectomy in 2015. Her uterus, cervix, and one ovary were surgically removed. She physically could not get pregnant, but she didn't tell Wade that. Instead, she constructed an elaborate 10-month-long pregnancy hoax.
She bought silicone pregnancy bellies online, graduating in size as her fake pregnancy progressed. She posted regular updates on social media, flaunting her baby bump. She staged a gender reveal party, announcing she was having a girl, a child she planned to name Clancy Gale. She even faked ultrasounds using images bought online.
And here's the thing that makes this even more disturbing. Taylor was not just lying to Wade. She was lying to everyone. Her friends, her family, and even her own mother. She told them she was expecting a miracle baby, claiming that despite her hysterectomy, her reproductive organs had somehow grown back. One family member confronted her directly about how this was biologically impossible. Taylor's response? It's a miracle. All my stuff grew back. She was so committed to the lie, so deeply entrenched in her own deception, that she genuinely expected people to believe her reproductive organs had spontaneously regenerated. But as her fake due date approached, Taylor's lie began to unravel. She had originally claimed she would be induced on October 5th, 2020, but that date came and went, and no baby appeared. To buy herself more time, Taylor created diversions. First, Wade Griffin's house caught on fire. Then, Titus Regional Medical Center received a bomb threat. Taylor blamed her mother for both incidents, claiming Shona Pryor was trying to sabotage her pregnancy. She then told everyone she had to travel to McCurtain Memorial Hospital in Idabel, Oklahoma, to deliver safely. It was all a calculated lie. But the problem was, she needed a baby, a real baby, and she was running out of time. So Taylor began searching online. She looked for surrogates, offering up to $100,000 for someone to carry a baby for her. But she couldn't make that work. So she shifted her searches. She started researching pregnant women in her social circle. She started looking at gestational timelines at 35 weeks. She watched YouTube videos of preterm infant clinical examinations. She researched how to fake pregnancy symptoms. She even searched how to cut a baby out of a woman's womb. She was methodical, targeted, calculated, and she had already chosen her victim, Reagan Simmons-Hancock. Taylor had done photography work for Reagan. She knew her schedule, she knew her house, and she knew her vulnerability. She knew Reagan was 35 weeks pregnant. She knew Reagan's husband worked during the day. She knew Reagan's 3-year-old daughter would be in the house. And she knew that if she could get inside, if she could isolate Reagan, she could take what she wanted. On October 8th, just one day before the murder.
Oh, Taylor! Oh, Taylor, everyone just loved those engagement photos. My whole family was complimenting your work.
She was checking the layout of the house, seeing who was home, and planning her next move.
Just after 7:30 a.m., Reagan's husband, Homer Hancock, left for work. He kissed his wife. He said goodbye to their daughter, Kinley. He had no idea, no way of knowing, that he would never see his wife alive again.
Within minutes of Homer's departure, Taylor Parker arrived. She was in Reagan's home, and she was armed.
Regan, I'm so sorry. I need your baby.
What happened inside that house is so violent, so depraved, that it's almost impossible to comprehend. Reagan Simmons-Hancock, 21 years old. 35 weeks pregnant. Fought for her life. She fought hard. Forensic pathologist Dr. Melinda Flores documented the injuries.
113 sharp force injuries in total. 15 of those were deep stab wounds. Another 98 were incised wounds. She also suffered 39 blunt force injuries, most of them concentrated on her face and head. Her nose had been broken. There were 5 distinct skull fractures, consistent with repeated blows from a hammer. There was also evidence of manual strangulation. While Reagan was still alive, still fighting, and still conscious, Taylor Parker used a scalpel to perform a crude cesarean section. She made a large transverse incision across Reagan's lower abdomen. She then extracted the uterus, removed the infant, along with the placenta and the umbilical cord.
And then she left with the baby in her arms, leaving Reagan to bleed out on her own kitchen floor, leaving Kindly, the 3-year-old, hiding under a blanket, terrified and completely alone. But here's what makes this case even more heartbreaking. Reagan was still alive while Taylor extracted her baby. The medical examiner later confirmed that Reagan lost so much blood, her blood pressure dropped to 0, causing her terminal wounds to stop bleeding before she died. She was conscious during parts of the assault. She felt it, all of it. Taylor Parker walked out the door. She got into her green Ford Explorer. She placed the newborn, Braxlin, in her lap, still attached by the umbilical cord, and she drove toward Oklahoma. She was speeding, driving erratically, swerving across the highway, almost colliding with an oncoming vehicle. Texas State Trooper Lee Shaver spotted her. He initiated a traffic stop. What he found was a scene of unimaginable horror. The trooper knew something was wrong. The infant wasn't breathing. It was pale, limp, unresponsive. And the umbilical cord was still attached, going directly into Taylor's pants.
It's our baby. She's not breathing.
How old did you say you was?
Life net's already on.
Taylor Parker arrived at the hospital, but once she was there, the clinical staff realized something was very wrong. The medical staff had no words. They had just confirmed that Taylor Parker had not given birth, that it was physically impossible for her to have done so. And at the exact same time, hundreds of miles away, another nightmare was unfolding.
New Boston 911, what's your emergency? Ma'am. Ma'am.
Help me, my daughter's been murdered.
Okay, where are you located at? In New Boston?
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know. Somebody got in her house. She's dead.
Okay.
Reagan's mother, Jessica Brookes, had discovered her daughter's body. She was found on the kitchen floor in a pool of her own blood. Her abdomen was sliced open. Her unborn baby was gone. And in the next room, hiding under a blanket, was Kinley, the 3-year-old daughter who had just watched a stranger attack her mother, who had watched her mother scream, who had watched her mother die.
Taylor Parker was immediately arrested and charged with capital murder. But she didn't break down. She didn't confess. She created a new lie, one so disturbing, so twisted that it left investigators speechless.
I didn't kill anybody. I wasn't even with her.
Taylor, GPS shows you inside Reagan's house from 7:30 to 9:09. We have your fingerprints everywhere. She was stabbed over 100 times. All the evidence says you did it. So tell me why.
We got into a fight, a physical altercation. I didn't mean for her to die. It was her idea. Reagan wanted me to have the baby. She told me to cut her unborn baby out. I was just doing what she asked. It was Reagan's idea.
You're telling me a woman who fought you so hard she had defensive wounds all over her hands and arms, who had a 3-year-old child in the next room, sat there and asked you to cut her baby out of her stomach?
Yes. She knew how badly Wade and I wanted a baby. She knew I had a hysterectomy. She wanted to help me keep my boyfriend.
The investigator leaned back. He had heard a lot of lies in his career, but this was different. This was a woman who had just murdered an innocent 21-year-old, cut her baby out of her womb, and was now claiming that the victim had volunteered for it? It was the most manipulative, most disturbing defense we had ever seen. But all the lies had been exposed. Every statement had been recorded. Every forensic report, every witness statement, every piece of evidence pointed to one person, Taylor Parker. There was no miracle. There was no roadside birth, only a carefully planned murder. Taylor Parker was formally arrested and charged with capital murder. The investigation continued for months as detectives reconstructed every step leading up to the crime. Using forensic evidence, cell phone records, GPS data, medical testimony, body cam footage, and Taylor Parker's own statements, investigators built a case they believed could prove exactly what happened inside Reagan's home. Nearly 2 years later, the case finally went to trial. Over the following weeks, the jury heard testimony from investigators, forensic experts, medical professionals, and witnesses connected to the case. They examined every piece of evidence collected during the investigation. After hearing all the evidence, the jury found Taylor Parker guilty of capital murder. And finally, the jury recommended the death penalty. On November 9th, 2022, Taylor Parker was formally sentenced to death by lethal injection. For Reagan's family, it marked the end of a long and painful legal battle, but no sentence could ever undo what had happened. Reagan Simmons-Hancock should have lived. She should have watched her daughter kindly grow up. She should have held Braxland Sage for the very first time. She should have had the future every young mother dreams of. Instead, her life was stolen. Her unborn child was taken from her, and an innocent family was left with a loss they will carry forever. This case wasn't just about murder. It was about deception, obsession, manipulation, and the devastating consequences of a lie that spiraled completely out of control. Justice was served, but for Reagan's family, justice could never replace what they lost.
Thank you for staying with me until the end. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please subscribe and support the channel.